We are live. Well, good morning, cousin. How are
Good
you?
good morning, good.
Good morning. You can tell I just got out of the shower. Didn't even put gel in my hair. I cut last week. I went down to see a friend down in San Diego, and it was actually such a gorgeous day that I took I have a convertible, right? I took my car down there, and I didn't put any like protector on my skull, and my nose and my
Oh, yeah.
forehead got burned, and I'm peeling, and it just my I feel like my I don't know. I reach up and I touch my forehead, and then, no, normally it's like I have pretty nice skin, right? And it's man, I feel like I'm like snake skills. So, but anyway, first world problems.
When I was 16, I worked for your dad. Do you remember that?
Well, I don't remember that, but I kind of remember that.
Yeah, I
I mean, I
babysat
was
you.
I would have been about 14, right?
I don't
How
know.
what year were you born?
65.
Okay, so that I would have been about I'd have been about 12
Yeah,
because
you weren't
because I'm
doesn't seem like
69.
you were like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, I got a really bad burn that summer,
Mm.
and your dad gave me some stuff for it.
I remember the one thing that going back to our youth, the one thing that I remember the most about you is you were a big softball player.
Mhm.
You loved ball, and obviously you get that from your dad. And I think I don't know if you still like baseball or that baseball, softball, that basically that sport, the layout of that sport. But I still to this day love baseball. That's like my thing. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of other sports as much. Not nearly as like you have baseball, and then you have all the other sports combined. Do not equal my love of baseball.
Uh-huh. We kinda got out of the habit of watching sports when everybody was taking the knee and doing all that stuff, and I
And
just
I did
kinda.
too. I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. But I still and I distinguish the difference between the players and um
Politics they're
the
forced to put.
politics behind the push. Because
Yeah.
when we were in school, I used to say, I mean, the term dumb jocks didn't come out of thin air,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that's just everybody knows that term. And so I look at the players, and I'm not by no means do I think that they're stupid, but that said, I don't believe the players are interested nearly in it as much as politics as those behind the players are.
Yeah.
So, and you know, baseball has had a little bit of the politic embedded into it or injected into it, but not nearly
Not
on the
as
level
much. Yeah.
as football and basketball. Um, and you know what? I think a lot of that is because baseball doesn't have the pull um, on certain communities like basketball and football does, right?
Right. Mhm.
So baseball's kind of left alone in many respects, and the one sport that's left absolutely alone is hockey. I
Yeah.
mean, they don't touch hockey at all.
Yeah.
So, but you know, This isn't a political.
It's hard not to be.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's hard not to be political, but that said, it's we try to keep it we try to keep it not political as much as possible here. So on this particular show, but enough of my ramblings. We're not going to talk about the basics of iridology today. Just kind of like a now that we've kind of got several shows under our belt, we're going to go back and cover the fundamentals,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yep.
So take it away. The floor is yours.
Okay. Do you have the PowerPoint?
I do.
Okay.
Let me present
So
that.
just cleared up. I mean, I used to call it iridology too, but it's
Okay.
iridology, having to do with the
Iridology.
irises And when you talk
Oh,
about both eyes, you say the irids.
okay.
So because you're
Iridology.
thinking iridology, nope, it's iridology.
That's a good. Well, thank you for correcting me. I would
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
be. I would rather you correct me so that I don't. I say it correctly. I don't want to. I don't like to say things incorrectly.
Yeah.
So
Most people call it iridology.
I don't have an. I don't have an
Even
ego when it
even
comes to things like
people
that.
even people who do it call it iridology, but
Mm,
it's I mean, yeah. So we're going to be looking at some of the basics and talking about how everybody, you don't have to be a professional. You can know some basics, which is what I teach at my school, and how to look in your own eyes and see the health status and particular tissues. Now, your right eye goes to the right side of your body, and your left eye goes to the left side of your body. So, everything going on in the right eye is pertaining to the right side. Everything going on in the left eye is pertaining to the left side. So,
right.
yeah.
Okay. So
There are
let's.
some little mixtures because, like, even the heart kind of crosses over. It's not exactly on the left side, it crosses to the center. So you'll have a little bit of heart even in the right eye. So, anyway,
Unless the heart's on the right side of your chest.
well,
I'm sorry.
what am I supposed to say to that?
I'm being difficult on purpose. I'm being a cousin right now.
am,
Okay.
I, am I supposed to? Uh,
That's me being like kind of a sibling, if you will.
yes. Oh, my goodness.
So, all right. So here, let's do this.
All right. So, let's go on to the next slide. How'd I do on this?
Guys, you
How'd
did
I do
great.
it? Okay. All
You
right.
did great.
So what is iridology? It is the science of studying the markings, the colors, and the fibers in the iris. Now, sometimes people have been saying, what have they been calling it? Wrongly, a different part of the eye. Um, but it's the iris, it's the colored portion on the outside of the eye to understand health and related tissues. So 65% of nerve fibers show up in the iris. This is the only place in the human body where you can actually see the nerves from the outside world.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so basically, you have those nerves that run through your body, go through your brain and to your eyes, the iris, and then back through your brain and through the rest of your body. So that's why you can see what's happening in the body because our nerves, respond to what's going on. So that's why it shows up in the iris of the eye.
Gotcha.
All right, next one. So, a little bit of history. It has been an assessment tool for centuries. It has roots in Egypt, India, China, Russia, and Greece. And most of the developers of the science were actually physicians. And the
Hmm.
most widely known one is Ignaz von Pesely from 1822 to 1911. He was a Hungarian doctor who had an owl when he was a boy, and I guess he was caring for the owl. Something happened, and the owl was stuck or something. Anyway, when he was helping the owl's leg broke, and he noticed immediately that there showed up a black spot in the owl's eye, in
Hmm.
the iris of his eye. And so when he got older and became a doctor, he started mapping out the human iris in different areas based on what his patients were coming to him for.
I
So there,
suspect that he, as a boy, when he figured that out, he started to investigate a lot of that stuff. It
yeah,
wasn't just something that he just kept in the back of his brain, and then all of a sudden, just
yeah, he
came
must
up
have
with
been a
all.
curious kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're a doctor, you're curious kind of a person, liking to look into that kind
Well,
of stuff.
doctors of that day, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doctors of today aren't curious at all.
Yeah.
They just know everything. They know
True.
everything, and you know nothing. And anyway,
Yeah.
I'm being a smart ass right now, but I think the vast majority of us probably understand that, especially in our community. We do know
Yeah.
that doctors don't have, it's no, 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 no.
Yeah.
They know everything.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a pastor in Sweden from 1851 to 1936 who practiced it with his parishioners. Another pastor in Germany, he studied theology and medicine and developed a map and laid out a framework for constitutions. Constitutions are things like, I don't go much into constitutions, but certain colorings in the eyes, the types of colors will say what kind of constitution, what kind of personality that you would tend to be. And I don't study that too much, but anyway, he did that. And Rudolf Schabel, he was a German who studied it using a microscope. Uh, Schabel's student Joseph Angerer continued his work. And then the next slide will be some more recent people.
I'm curious here because you got me thinking about constitution, and because I think when everybody hears the term constitution now, obviously, oops, sorry, my alarms are going off. I need to um, the constitution in terms of like the government or whatnot, but you're talking about constitution, and I want to find a definition of what the constitution as you are defining it, because I think that's
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
um
I've actually, like I said, I've not really studied it, but they talk about like there's certain
i'm
traits
gonna br-
of people
I'm
with
gonna bring
certain
this right here
colors. There
and
you go.
see
Uh,
more,
you
and actually make
you
this
could
a little
probably
bit
go
bigger.
Iris Constitution. Might tell you a
Well,
little bit more.
I think this is a person's physical state with regard to vitality, health, and
There you
strength.
go. Yeah, there you
Pregnancy
go.
had weakened her constitution. A person's mental or physical makeup. Okay. The individual's constitution is commonly described as his nature. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So there are certain signs which I'll show you that people tend to be in certain categories. And so they have certain traits that would be common to people with those kinds of irises.
Right.
So, yeah. Okay.
Oops. Number 4.
Yeah. And then there were some more in the 1900s: Dorothy Hall, Tony Miller, Henry Lawn, Henry Lindler, Bernard Jensen. Now, Bernard Jensen is uh, I learned iridology when I was going through naturopathy school. And Bernard Jensen's work is what we studied.
Gotcha.
And as I was going, it was like my last elective, and I was just trying to finish up. So I was doing it, and because everything was, I did at home on my own time,
Mhm.
right? So there was no actual class. So I started looking for help on on YouTube, and I ran across Dr. Robert Morse, who actually knew Bernard Jensen, and he was doing
Really?
some training. Yeah, he worked with Bernard Jensen, and anyway, Dr. Morse is uh, someone that I use a lot of his ways of thinking, because it was at that same time that I was realizing just how sick I was and deciding to go through and detoxify my body and everything. And I ran across Dr. Robert Morris, which I believe was God ordained for me at that time because it's what I needed at that
Hmm.
time. And so I started following his protocol, and I agree with most of what he does. And so he you could say he was a mentor, even though I don't know him
Gotcha.
personally. So anyway,
Okay.
okay,
Next.
next. Yep. So interesting facts. Hippocrates was actually a naturopath. He wasn't in the allopathic community, even though supposedly, I don't even know if they do the Hippocratic Oath anymore, but he was a naturopath. He would not use allopathic medicines because he said, first, do no harm. And we know that allopathic medicine does do harm, does not heal anything. And
What
then,
is define quickly, just because I would like to hear your definitions of this. You said there's allopathic and naturopathic. So what does allopathic mean?
that's your medical people.
I know, but
Who,
I mean, like in so allopathic is like basically Western medicine.
right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. Okay, and then King Henry VIII, he felt that the doctors of his time were quacks. The allopathic community of his time were quacks because they were bloodletting and doing all these crazy things. And so he created the herbalist charter where he felt that the medicine should not bother people in the natural health and believed they were more effective than the mainstream of his day. So that was King Henry VIII. And I think we were basically under England still at that time. Not sure.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, next one. Okay, and this I wanted to point out because even here, whenever the American Medical Association came into being, they were right away trying to attack natural medicine. And so it
Well,
actually went before Congress.
yeah,
And
this is right about the time. This is right about the. Looks like this is right around the time of the Flexner report.
probably. Anyway, Congress gave naturopathy, anybody who was trained in naturopathy, the right to diagnose, even though we are attacked anytime they still attack us and try to say that we're not allowed to diagnose. And so it's just easier not to diagnose, just to tell people, hey, this is how your body works, because we don't want to have to deal with the big money people, who will attack us. So to stay out of trouble and to stay away from that, we don't. But they did give us the right to do that, to diagnose and practice all the different healing arts from, chiropractic to herbology to, you know, uh, just different light therapy and water therapy and all different kinds of things. So,
Interesting.
yeah. Okay.
Next. Okay.
Okay, so in reality, there are only two true eye colors, brown and blue. And then there are some people who are genetically mixed. You'll have naturally some brown and some blue in your eyes. But green is a blue eye with yellow toxins overlaying the top. So there's no such thing as a green eye or a hazel eye unless you're genetically mixed.
Well, then I guess I'm
But
screwed.
why are you
Because I have a
saying?
hazel eye.
Well, most people have toxins. So a green eye, like I said, is a blue eye with yellow toxins. I think we're going to see some here. You'll see some that actually look like they're brown eyes, but they really are not brown eyes. They're blue eyes. You can see underneath that they are actually blue eyes, but they have so many toxins in their body that their eyes look brown.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there are 272 known neuropeptides from the hypothalamus, which is in the brain, that cause chemical change to color in the iris. So basically what happens, toxins are clear, they're not colored. But when we have an emotional response, certain toxins, like an emotional response, anger maybe, because they say anger is related to the liver. And if you have an anger response, these neuropeptides will combine with those chemicals and create a brown spot in the iris of your eye where the liver would be. So anyway, that's how we see the colors, the different changes of the eye. It's mixed with emotions.
Gotcha. Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
All right.
Next. All right. So a strong constitution person. Okay. So there's strong and there's weak. And it's just your genetics, basically. Some people have a strong constitution. This would be a person with strong family line with little illness. There's, as you can see, when we're looking at the eye, we're looking at the color, we're looking at the fibers. And this blue eye is one of the most uh, strongest constitutions I've ever seen. You can see that there's little difference. You can see some white in areas, a few maybe color pigment drops, but
Hmm.
all in all, this person has a very strong constitution. They have a lot of fibers. They look like spokes going out, all those
Yeah.
fibers, and they're very close together.
Yes.
So when somebody has that, they have a strong constitution and their body can take a lot. They can eat poorly for years, smoke, do all these things, and it won't affect them as much as it would somebody who has a weak constitution.
Yeah,
And
and I don't say this. I'm not. I don't say this in a braggadocious way at all. But I think when you looked at mine, you obviously there was you found a few issues with mine, but I think you were very complimentary, and said that I looked pretty good. Like the fibers of my eyes were pretty like tight together, if I remember
yes,
correctly.
so that would mean that you would be able to heal quickly. People with these kinds of constitutions, they're like, okay, eventually everything catches up,
Hmm.
eventually. But once you do, and you go, oh, maybe I should stop this or that, you heal really quickly.
Right.
But I have to say that over the years and the generations now of people who have been on poor diets, and eating processed foods, we're finding less and less people with strong constitutions.
Hmm.
That's why I know I harp on this a lot, but if people who are planning to have children, you really should do some detoxing and some strengthening of your body because you do pass down your genes. So, and like I said, the genetics is getting weaker and weaker because people are not getting stronger through their diet and through, strengthening their body, they're getting weaker and weaker.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, I think, are you familiar with the Pottinger cats?
Yes.
Okay, so
Hmm.
I kind of feel like I feel like the United States in 2020, that we are like the second and third, fourth generation of the Pottinger cats, if you will.
I believe
Um,
that too. I think of that a lot. Uh-huh.
um,
I read that book. I don't have it
sorry,
I don't have
that
my own
surprised me.
copy,
Um,
but it's
and if you guys have never
a
heard
good
or
book.
seen the Pottinger cats, what Pottinger was is this. He was I don't know if he was a kind of he wasn't a crazy guy, but he was a kind of like a hermit guy who lived out in the middle of uh, out in the foothills of the San Gabriel Mountains, I believe, and and he was using cats as basically experimenting on cats, and he had like two groups of cats. He had one that he would give like the proper diets to, and one that he would give the non-proper diet to. And then he would what he would do is he would mate the ones that had like the really really strong ones together, and then he would mate like the weak ones together. He would mate some of the strong with some of the weak. And anyway, long story short is, after a certain period of time, he was able to ascertain that certain cats were like the cats that were like the weak ones that mated with the weak ones. Basically, it's like their offspring were almost, they couldn't even survive.
Right.
And the ones
Yeah,
that were
by the 4th
strong, like,
generation
it,
by
it
the
was
4th
almost like a survival of
generation.
the fittest. There was, you know what I mean? I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm saying that correctly, but I think you understand the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
The point is that he was able um, uh, to show that that eating proper diets and doing things properly, that the cats that ate the great diets, they were the ones that were the most friendly, they were the ones that were the most tame, they weren't aggressive, they weren't schizo.
Yes.
um uh they had very healthy, vibrant kittens, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
it was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting study.
Yeah, and it's been years since I read it, but if
Are
I
you there?
remember right,
I think I lost you.
uh-oh. Yep, I'm here.
um I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
I can't
I
hear you.
I can hear you. Press. Hmm.
Mm, I can't hear you.
Hmm.
Say something.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
I do not know what happened, but you are gone.
Huh. Looks
Mm,
to me like I'm here still.
hold on 1 second here. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're there, but I can't hear you. Um,
Hmm. I'm not muted.
I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
You know what? I apologize. I think honestly, I think that was my cat jumping on the soundboard, and it's it's so frustrating to me. I went on that diatribe about the Pottinger cats, and then anything that you were saying in response, I couldn't hear a thing you said. So I
Oh,
apologize, guys.
not a problem.
So anyway, I say again what you were
I
saying.
was I was just saying that it's been a long time since I read that, years ago, but my if my memory serves me right, by the 4th generation, the cats were not able to procreate
That's
at
correct.
all.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So the strong cats ate raw milk, raw meat,
Hmm.
because that's what cats eat, right? They
Right.
don't, so whenever they cooked the food, then they became started becoming unhealthy, and by the 4th generation, they could even procreate.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
so it makes a difference.
I'm gonna try to find that video someplace and see if I can't play it, because I think it was a very interesting, and it's kind of sad. I mean, obviously I love cats, so it's kind of difficult to watch, but removing the emotion out of it, it's what he was able to show was, just take, not necessarily a species thing. He just was like showing that this is what is proper for this particular species. If you do the right things for this species, you will get good things. If you do the wrong things for the species, you will get bad things. And looking at where we are as humans, and the crap that we've been fed, over the,
Yes.
well, I remember the what is it, the food pyramid, eat certain pieces of the certain parts of the food groups. It's like, oh my God, like, you looking back at that,
Yes.
it was so cringe.
Yeah, you're
Anyway, I digress.
right. All right,
So,
next one.
next.
Okay, so this would be somebody with a weaker constitution. As you can see, the fibers are spread out. We would
Mhm.
call this person a polyglandular, because you can see the iris actually looks like there's a flower there. And all those flowers are in the areas, actually, this one's quite spread out, but are all in the areas of where the glands would be, like the thyroid gland, the adrenal gland, the pituitary, the hypothalamus, everything basically on this person and the glands and hormones would need some support. So this person has a lot of lacuna, which lacuna are those enclosed circles. You can see tons of them in this eye, indicating there's a genetic weakness. when they say the theory is if they're closed like that, you were probably born like that.
Hmm.
And this person, I mean, that's a theory. And they say, some people say you can't heal that. And some people say, well, I've seen lacunas open on myself. So, and I've seen myself develop lacunas because of things I did, and then them open and begin to grow fibers. So that's why I say you can heal. It's just, are you willing to dig in and do the work? Because it's not always pleasant.
Right.
So
Well, I think looking at society, I think we are uh, I would say that we are a society of lazy people as a whole.
well, we've been trained to to get gratification quickly.
Mhm.
We take a medicine, your symptoms are going to go away really quickly. But you can't heal like that, because you figure if you have lived a lifelong of, eating bad foods, and if your constitution is weak, now meaning not meaning you're a weak person, it just means that your body needs more to recover, and it's not a good or a bad. It has nothing to do with the quality of a person. It's just whether or not you can heal as easily. A person like this is going to need more support. So it would take longer, and there would need more. This person probably would never ever close all of those lacunas,
Right.
but they would be able to strengthen them a lot and make it a lot better by the time they passed on. So, all right.
Yes. All right. Next.
All right. So these are brown eyes. Now, uh, brown eyes are harder to see the fibers. Now, I think you can get a special camera to be able to get in and see the fibers, but they have an extra layer of pigment, so it makes it difficult to see the fibers in true brown eye. But you can see a lot going on in the brown eye. Like, you can see the radar solaris, which are those lines, those crevices that go in. You can see different colorings. You can see the one on the right, there's some lacuna that you can see. So there's still a lot you can see with a brown eye, but you don't see quite as much detail.
Does does eye color have anything to do with ethnicity?
Yes, yes. Um, but not always. Like, the one on the very right is from Italy. I know that was one of my clients is from Italy. She was Italian. So the other two, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously a black person's going to have very dark black
Mhm.
eyes, and it's going to be even harder. The darker the color, the harder it is to look in there and see.
Right.
So if you're taking it with your phone, it's going to be harder for you to get a good picture. So anyway.
Okay. Just I'm just was I my thought was that because um looking back at typically Caucasian people are, I mean, there are Caucasian, I know a lot of Caucasian people that have brown eyes, but I know most Caucasian people that I know have eye colors that are not brown. They're much lighter, green or blue or whatever. And obviously, I know that there's only two eye colors, but um, for the sake of conversation or whatever, uh, it, when you look at Hispanic people or black people, whatever, they typically have eye colors that are on the darker side.
Right.
And I don't know if that has anything to do with the melanin content of the skin, or if I mean if
They
that
say that
permeates everything.
80% of the world has brown eyes.
Okay.
That's what I've heard. I don't know how much that is, but it does. It's basically melanin in the eyes.
Okay.
So yeah.
That was that. I guess that was my long diatribe to ask was it didn't have anything to do with the melanin content.
Yeah.
So
All
okay,
right.
next.
All right. So there are four main things that we look at. We look at the color variation, how open and closed the lesions are, how deep they are, and how wide they are. So, all right, next. So a normal line, as you can, if you're looking at that picture on the right, that is an iris. It's supposed to be an iris, and that's what an iris would look like, cross-sectioned. So normal line should be straight and close together with no discoloration. So the next step would be an acute. As you can see here, acute is just the line is moved a little bit, maybe raised a little. It is probably white in color. An acute stage, a person has acids that are starting to build up and cause tissue damage. You may or may not have pain at that point. So sometimes the acids actually will start creating pain, especially in joints and things.
Mm,
So, okay.
okay.
Then you have subacute. That is after acute, you have subacute. It's starting to get the color in the eye is starting to get a little darker. Maybe in a brown eye, you're going to see more white rather than gray. But it's usually in a gray, in a blue eye. A chronic is really deeper than a subacute. So when you're looking at the iris, you could actually see the fibers and notice that there are layers of fibers. So the layers, the deeper the layer, the more damage there is. So subacute, you're passing through the pain phase. You're probably not feeling pain anymore because there's so much damage.
Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that or not. You
The
wanted to.
tissue's starting to break down. Chronic, the body is breaking down.
Mm,
Okay, so there's probably no pain at that point. The organ is not functioning well, if at all. Okay, then the next one would be the degenerative stage. It's going to look black. In a blue eye, a spot will look black.
mm,
And that is deeply damaged and possibly life-threatening destruction of tissue like tumors and things like that.
gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's an eye. This person, I would say, has a strong constitution. There are a lot of fibers. He's starting to get some lacuna, or he or she, whoever it is, I don't know. You can see there are some lacunas, some darker areas that looked like where the fibers are separated. And you have a lot of acids, the white stuff, especially around the lymphatic area. If you look at those dots around the outside, see, blue-eyed people have a tendency to have more lymphatic type issues.
Mm,
And you can see the dots. It's called a rosary, lymphatic rosary, meaning the lymph nodes are starting to get backed up. You can see the white is beginning to accumulate on this person. But overall, this person has a strong constitution. There are some areas that they need to work on, though. All right, like detoxifying, getting that going. Now, this person has kind of a haze over the eye. From this picture, you can't really see the fibers too well. You can see that this person has a lymphatic rosary also. They're starting to build a haze up around the top in the brain area. Okay, so the acids or the cholesterol, if this person is not breaking down, it looks like there's some, she needs some help there in the gallbladder and the liver area, which could be contributing to the what they call sinus, that line across the top of the brain there. But
mm-hmm.
the lymphatic system needs to be cleaned and this person probably could come out of this fairly quickly if they put their mind to it. Now,
Okay.
so all those red lines in the eyes and the whites of the eyes also mean something. That's called sclerology. And usually, if you see a line like you can see over coming from the on the right there, and it's pointing, I don't know,
This
can you?
one or this one?
I was looking on the other side, uh, going towards the eye.
Right here.
Yes, that means something. That is pointing towards the the thyroid area, and so yeah, that would have a tendency to say, "Hey, look at the thyroid," and a person who studies sclerology would know all that stuff. But I don't know sclerology that well. Anyway, all right, next one. Okay, so this person has a lot of color in their eye, but if you look underneath, this is actually a blue eye. You can tell it's a
Really?
you could tell it's a blue eye because if you look at the nerve rings and the outside around it, it's blue, or it's lighter in color than what the color is. See
Hmm.
those nerve rings underneath there? See how light it is?
I do see that, yeah.
Yeah. So this person most more likely is really a blue eye, but the brown and the yellow are all toxins that are in the system that need to come out. And whenever you have that brown around the circle in the middle, that tendon has a tendency to be digestive disorders and blood sugar regulation issues. So here we go. Here's another eye. This is another blue eye with a lot of toxic buildup. A lot of, you can't even hardly see the fibers on this one. The toxins are so built up and layered on top. So
Hmm.
this person needs to do a lot of detox.
Is
They
that
have
why is that why it almost has like a view of like calcification?
uh kind of like a thick layer sitting on top of it, you mean?
Yeah.
Like a it almost looks like there's a piece of cloth laying on the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay.
Because this person is actually thought they had hazel eyes, but they are a blue-eyed person with toxins in the system. And then this person I know has, as you can see, look at that, the kidney area that it's right about a 615 or 630, that hole. This person has a, a kidney transplant, and one of the kidneys is not functioning at all.
Hmm.
So they don't clear. And whenever you see yellow in the eye, that is a tendency to have kidney issues. It's usually related to kidney. So, okay, so this
Gotcha.
person, yeah.
Sorry,
Next
couldn't
one,
know.
that's okay. Yeah. So this person has lacunas, and you can see how deep they are. They are closed off. Some are open. When they're open like that, they're easier to heal. They say that that is usually something that you have developed since you were born. It's not something you were born with. That's what they say. Um, but you can see how dark, how deep those layers are. If that was like magnified, you'd be able to tell and see different layers of the fibers. But this person is not going to heal as easily as that blue eye that we saw at the beginning. So you can see all the different colors, like there's color deposits, specks, which can be either from iodine or more than likely prescription drugs that have settled in the tissues. And children can be born with those. So if they got it from their mom, you can actually be born with drug deposits in the eye.
Hmm.
But that
I
can
believe
come
that.
out. You can get that out. Okay, next. All right. So this person has some wavy uh, lines, and that person would have a tendency towards connective tissue issues. So maybe the torn ligaments, be more geared toward ligaments and things like that. They have the radar solaris going up into the brain from the transverse colon, meaning they may have parasites in the transverse colon, but whatever it is, it's going up into the brain and it's affecting probably their hormones and their ability to think clearly. So, and they have some lymphatic rosary also. I think we already did this one.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I don't know what happened there, but anyway, apologize.
That's all right.
My
Let's go
mouse
on to the next one.
has a mind of its own sometimes.
Next.
Next, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this one, see how you can look, you can see the layers of the fibers. And you can see, there's some that go all the way down in to, you can see the really dark areas. That would be the degenerative, like not where that yellow line is pointed, but down lower. There's like a really, so it's a small hole, but there is a hole there, and it's very dark in color. And that would be a degenerative stage. The white would be the top layer. That would be acute. But as you can see, all the fibers are white. So this person is dealing with a lot of acids. They may have a tendency towards arthritis and pain in the joints. There's some drug deposits, or what looks like probably drug deposits, those brown flakes. And
Right in
anyway,
here.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And yeah, and then that dark area around the pupil, that is the stomach lining. This person's stomach is probably breaking down also. So,
Mm. I wonder if and forgive me, I'm not trying to make this about me, but I'm wondering if if after I had the surgery, if that would be reflective in the eye and how long it would take for it to show up.
it would right away, it would show up.
Mm.
Yeah. It does show. I'm pretty sure it'll show there. I know somebody who just had a heart surgery. And since she had heart surgery, it's almost like a big old notch was taken out of that area of the iris.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like instantaneous.
Yes. Just like the Ignaz von Peskley with his owl. He immediately saw that when the leg broke, it showed in the iris. Now, my understanding too is that in some countries, like I believe Russia or Germany, I can't remember, but they actually have iridologists on the staff of their hospitals, and they use them a lot if somebody is in a coma, because you can see what's
Mm.
happening in the body when, if somebody can't talk to you, you can go look in the iris. And they're highly trained, right?
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah. All
That's
right.
actually very interesting.
Okay, so the brown, like that, going around the outside or the center where the digestive area is, shows that there's this toxic bowel, some blood sugar issues, and yeah. So if you have
So
that in the middle of your eye,
this
you
person
can
doesn't
see.
even look like they have any white in the eye.
Yeah, there's a thick layer in this one too. And look at that. See that hole at the bottom at the 6 o'clock? That's the
Mhm.
leg. That's the leg and hip and knee area. So they probably have some problems with their leg there too, if they're not feeling it there. So that's pretty much what I have for you today.
Have a great day then. Okay. Have a great day.
Mhm.
Well, that's interesting. One thing, you had I forget where it was, but it was like almost like the map.
Yes. I didn't put it in here, did I?
No, you didn't. It's okay. It's okay. But I mean, that can be found online. Yes.
Yes. And there are different maps. So some are more up to date I use the Jensen one because that's where I was trained. And here, let me just hold. This is the map here, as you can see.
Mm.
There we go.
I see. There's
So
and I would just did a there's a bunch of them actually out there.
yeah, some of the older ones, some of them are really simple because they actually draw the body parts there. Um, but they're not as they aren't going to be as detailed, you know. Like for instance, the sigmoid or the anus is not going to be as detailed. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm. No,
yeah.
I apologize. I'm actually looking to see if I don't want that
But in
because I'm not.
general, whoops. In general, the brain is at the top between 1 and 11. And then the outside portion of the eye is the chest. The inside portion is going to be the thyroid. And then you have like areas of the neck and everything there. You have your back. So you can see the back goes up in through this area. Then the different colors also stand for different areas of the body, like the blood and the lymph. And then the skin is the blue on the very outside portion there. So, and then you can see you've got kidneys, and then you have bladder, you have the uterus or the prostate, the spleen,
Here's
and
an interesting. This isn't the greatest of ones, but I'll share it anyway. It's
yeah, I don't know
yeah.
whose that is, but you can see, yes, that so you have the stomach. It shows you where the stomach is right on the outside of the pupil. So the lining of your stomach is where the pupil and the stomach that they're showing touches. So if you have a poor stomach absorption, it's going to show there. And then the intestines go all the way around the eye. And then you have your collarette, your nerve wreath between there and the outside portion where your sympathetic nervous system is. You can see where the spine goes. So if you have a lot of white in that area, you may want to, you know, see it in the, it's kind of like towards the nose,
Hmm.
under the bronchioles there. So yeah, that's pretty much the map. The lungs are on the outsides of the eyes. The thyroid goes towards the middle, towards the nose. Then you have your neck, your esophagus. So all that stuff that would be right in here is towards the inside of the nose area. You have some
Yeah, this
bronchioles.
is I think this stuff to me is fascinating because it really gives well, I mean when you said the thing about the people being in a coma and they bring in an iridologist to look at the eye to see if they can that to me that was like wow, that's actually really that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, here it's not as widely used as, I mean, it's starting to gain ground, I think, in the United States, but in other countries, they do more of it.
Well, there's a I mean, as Americans, I think we have this we've been taught to have this mentality that that what we do is the best and what everybody else does is the worst. It's like and I don't know if that's pride of country or if it's pride or arrogance, hubris. But you know,
Yeah, I think it's part of training in anything you go into. Honestly, I mean, if if you go into the police force, they're going to tell you that this is the best. You're
mhm.
learning the best. If you go into the medical field, they're going to tell you we're the best. Um, if you go into whatever it is, they want you to think and believe that you are the best. And I think
Mhm.
it's just common part of any kind of training to instill some kind of you know, a
The
sense
belief
of,
system.
yeah, a sense of adequacy in your own mind for what you're doing. You have to be able to believe in it. So, yeah.
I agree with that. That doesn't, but I think the ego, um, that can have a negative effect on the ability to learn, right? If you're
Yes.
if you're so egotistical that you are the best and that you can't be taught, uh, that has a negative impact on who you are as a person because you if you think that you know it all,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, then you're I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place because then you can't, this the whole old adage of you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? Well, that's not totally true. I think it's all about the mentality of the individual,
Right.
and seeing a lot of this stuff is really fascinating to me because it's like what this does. It's kind of like I'll use a real world example for me. Up until I guess it was like the early 2000s. I always had, I remember the Thomas guide, the books,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
maps, right? So I used to have a Thomas guide in my car for every, for all the counties, Riverside, San Bernardino, uh, LA Orange, I mean,
Yeah.
I loved the Thomas guides. I mean, I'd buy every year I'd buy the newest Thomas guide and I would just study that thing
Jim
because I
Jim
just
had to
loved the
buy him
map.
too because he was, pumping concrete, going all over the place.
Yeah,
He didn't have a GPS.
I loved those things, right?
Yeah.
So I never had a car that had a navigation system.
Right.
But when I got my, I got I think it was 2007 when I got an Acura CL, and then that was the first car that had it had an actual map in it, in the navigation system, and I was like, man, I didn't need to use that because I already knew like I could pretty much get in the car and go any place without having to know, right?
Yeah.
And which was great. It's having that sense of direction was awesome, but having the ability to have that navigation system only enhanced my ability to go to a place. It just made me that much better. And
Yeah.
I think that's a taking that example and applying it to the iridology. I think what this could do is this could help so many doctors. It can not necessarily be used in replacement of their all the technical stuff that they have, like call it an MRI or an X-rays or whatever. But you take the results from the tests, and then you look at the eyes, and you say, and basically
It's additional
it's an addition,
spiritual
it's like a
information.
confirmation type
I
thing,
have to
right?
say though, I have to say that when it comes to blood work in certain ways or urinalysis, things like that, you even um, uh, hormones, your
Hmm.
eyes are going to tell you more than a blood test will tell you.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of people don't understand that that the blood work is not when you do the blood work, that's just a snapshot of what's going on at that moment in time.
Yeah.
That's not a if you want accurate blood work to get, you need to do take a blood sample every single day for for a long time,
Right.
in order to establish a pattern. Whereas when you look in the eyes, what you're seeing with the eyes is that's kind of like almost that's the closest thing to having um,
Well, you can see what's happening in your
a
body right at
record.
that moment. I
Right.
mean, you can look at it in the morning, you can look at it at the night. You don't have to keep going back. Another thing is muscle testing.
Hmm.
I used to do that a lot, and I had a lady come to me, and I did a whole workup on her, did the muscle test, and she was she was testing for a virus in her lungs, but she was
Mm.
feeling great. So I didn't give her anything for that. I mean, she didn't have a lot of money, so I wasn't like trying to give her more than she could handle. But she ended up in the hospital with pneumonia.
Mm.
So the muscle testing told me she had an issue, and she ended up in the hospital later. But she wasn't feeling it yet when she was in my office. But I already knew that she had a problem because she was testing for it before
Right.
she had any symptoms at all. Anyway,
That's
she should have come back to me. I would have given her an herb, and it would saved her a lot of time and money.
It's there's so many little things out there that can be used, not necessarily, again, not in place of, but in addition to help you kind of understand things. The livo 2, the hypoxic training. um my buddy Dave, he tells a story. He was about how he was using the Libo 2, and he was training a young kid who was in the um I forget what team it was, but he was in the minor league system of this major league team. And uh what he did was he always used the pulse oximeters on each hand or on each finger, so that you could test what was happening on the right side, what was happening on the left side, how long that it took for you to get down into a hypoxic state, and then how quickly you snapped out of the hypoxic state once you actually introduced the high concentration of oxygen, in the in the process. And there was this, I mean, this kid was he if he's a minor league baseball player, he's a pretty good athlete, right? He's in great shape. And he's like, one day he was doing it, and he said that it took him a while. It was uncharacteristic for him to not be able to have, so that he didn't come back, s- um what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it wasn't both sides at the same time came back at the
Oh,
same rate.
okay.
The right side came back faster than the left side. And I could be getting it wrong, but whatever. The point is that one side came back faster than the other. And they were supposed to do a training later in the following week. And he says, yeah, they called and he canceled the training. And he said, yeah, he said he pulled a hamstring. And he says, oh, let me guess, it was his left hamstring. And the guy's like, how did you know that? And
Mhm.
because he told him, he's like, he warned him. He said, like, whatever you do, don't do anything that's there's or you're exerting yourself too heavily,
Yeah.
because there's
You
something
haven't
going on
recovered.
there. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I just don't do anything too crazy. And sure enough, that was because he noticed that on one side it wasn't coming back as fast. So, and that's obviously, it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about here, but it does have to do with using things that maybe aren't very highly technical, but yet still talk to us and help to enable
Yeah.
practitioners or people to have
Mus
a good idea of what you're doing, or what's things that are going on within the body that you may not know.
Muscle testing is really pretty simple to
Hmm.
do. Everybody could do it. The only problem with teaching, like, the people here how to do muscle testing is that you also have to test for parasites and heavy metals and things like that, which you need equipment for, or you need a test kit to be able to see if a person has that. But in general, they can test a supplement on themselves to see if their body likes it. And it's all a matter of, does your body respond well and strong? Do your
Hmm.
muscles get stronger when you're holding the supplement, or do you get weaker?
Right.
Now, and that's just kind of the typical thing because everything's energetic,
No, that's
right?
the thing. That's the thing where you're, I want to make sure that I'm understanding this properly, and also for the audience. The muscle testing is where you hold your arm out and you try to put resistance against it, and then
Yes.
you put whatever this whether it's a medication or a mineral or something, you put it so that
Yeah.
it's touching the body, and then um, you try to hold that resistance. And if I can pull it down, and you can, if the resistance is strong, then then you're okay.
Yeah,
But if the
yeah, and
resistance,
it's
right.
basically, so the way I would do the testing, first you have to make sure somebody's testable because often if you have parasites or some kind of toxin going on in your body, you have to deal with that before you can even test a person.
Hmm.
But then once you got past all that, I would go over every area of the body. They would put their arm out and I would touch, start at the top, test this and see if the arm is strong, if it'll lock. You're not really trying to like force against somebody's strength, but it will automatically be locked and strong if you have good function there. So anytime there's an area where the arm isn't locking and I'm touching that area, and it goes weak, I know there's an issue there. So I would
Hmm.
always test for parasites, bacteria, uh, a virus, heavy metals, different things going on there. And then when someone didn't test for having that issue in that area, then you look for a supplement that would help make it strong. So the right supplement would actually make the arm lock, and
Mm.
it's not about whether or not you're strong, you're like can out muscle somebody. It's just you kind of get used to it and you feel it, and people are amazed. People are just amazed that just holding a supplement like that would actually do what it does. But when you have somebody who can't hold up their arm and then you give them a supplement and all of a sudden they're strong, it's like night and day. It's like a light bulb just turns on.
Mm.
So,
Well, awesome. Well, where do people find you?
goodnewshealthsolutions.com. You can find my contact information there. You can schedule a uh, no obligation courtesy call with me if you're interested in my school. I got videos on there. Uh, you can contact me there through my
Okay.
email, whatever.
Are you running any sort of specials or anything this month?
Yes, I'm doing my school for half price through April. It's
Okay.
normally if you do payments, it's normally a $9,000 school when people are
Mm.
making payments. If they so that would be half price, so it'd be 4,500. But if they want to make it pay in full, then I'll take off a good chunk of that too. If they want
Mm.
it, it's a 6 month long school, and I empower people to take control of their own health and give you the information, the skills to know how to take care of your own issues and become healthy.
And what on the school is it like? It was like once, like every night, or like
No, it's
one
you
day a
get
week?
it's video training, which you would watch at your own leisure. Okay, so usually the videos once a week are anywhere between 20 minutes to an hour. So that would be once a week. And then we would meet weekly for small group coaching sections. So you're getting the information. I'm giving you the basics and it's building upon each thing. And then once a week, we meet as a group, a small group, and I'll answer any questions that you would have and to help you. And what I'm doing too is I'm allowing my students to go to have access to the videos and all the information for an additional 6 months after that, because there's a lot of info.
Mm.
So, and a lot of terms that are new for people. So, I give my students an additional 6 months in to be able to access all the information.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for spending an hour with us this morning and
Thank you.
educating us on the basics of iridology. To
Thank
see,
you.
I'm teachable. I said it wrong at the beginning, and now I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
I'm just being silly. So, but no, in all sincerity, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, for
And
having me. Thank
yes,
you for
well,
everybody who watched.
yep. And we'll see you. Actually, there may be the potential that next week is a that we have to skip next week. So I'll keep everybody. I might have to like go out of town. So
Okay.
um, but if that doesn't happen, then we'll be next week. If it does, then it'll be the following week. So but we'll keep everybody updated on that one. So, anyway, have a great day, everybody. I'll be back here in I think about 11 o'clock my time with the Colonel going over some Operation Gladio stuff, and don't get too close to a train. That's I'll have to show you the video that I did with my buddy Nino on that.
Okay.
I stood very close to a train. Actually, I wasn't nearly as close as everybody thought. I just put the phone close. I
Oh.
was still standing far away, but it was pretty close. It was close enough that I could feel the wind from the
Oh.
train cars. So yeah, but anyway, thank you, Jenny. Appreciate that. But yes, I'll be back a little bit later to do the show with the Colonel, and then very likely we'll get dive back into the book about Eisenhower later this evening. So look forward to seeing you guys a little bit later. And Cousin Linda, I will see you very soon.
All right.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Take
day.
care, everyone.